I felt her get pegged down right there. Oh yeah, fish, big fish, big fish. Get her, yeah! So you got me on that one, brother.
I think so.
we would have almost, if that would have been a double, that would have been awesome. Hey, what's up guys? Nick the Informative Fisherman here. Today we're out doing a little frog fishing with my buddy Billy Hines. Billy, welcome to the viewers.
Informative Fisherman.
We're
gonna get her done today.
We're gonna try to get her done. We're out here launching out of B&W, fishing the McQualamy. We're gonna be bouncing around all over the place, breaking down frog fishing techniques. We're gonna focus on hollow belly frogs for the most part today. I just missed an absolute toad, which broke my heart. Felt the fish load up, just came off, so it was my fault. We can't blame the fish. Billy's been giving me grief all morning, but we're gonna put some big ones in. But stay with us, guys. You're gonna learn a heck of a lot today. This is gonna be a heck of a lot of fun. Let's go get him, Billy.
Get her done.
All right, so frog fishing today, the first thing I want to get into is to the gear that we're using. You know, we're using fast reels. Billy's using, what, a 7-speed reel over here?
7-1-1.
What is that, the Lew's speed spool?
Lew's speed spool, yeah, the Super Duty.
7-1-1. And you're fishing 65, right?
65 pounds.
So Billy's fishing the 65-pound braid, and I'm fishing the 50-pound P-Line X braid. The key difference here is, yeah, you can get a little bit more range with 50-pound, but you have to be a little bit more careful. If they're slack in the line and you crack the whip, you can still break fish off with 50-pound braid. That doesn't happen nearly as often. 50s, you got that 12-pound diameter. 65, you got that 15-pound diameter. You can crack them on that, you can rip them through trees and really get them there. You give up a little bit of range, but you gain the horsepower. If I'm fishing the real thick stuff as it gets later into the year, July, August, I fish over to the heavier line. Why things are not growing too heavy out here right now, I still fish the 50, but there are some situations. Billy pulled that big one out of the Primrose right there at the last minute of the film that you guys are gonna see him pull that one out. That could have easily got down there, and 50-pound braid may not have handled it at that point. So that's the line choice we're using. We're using the braid because there's zero stretch. We make these long casts. You gotta be able to dig these big hooks into these frogs. I mean, you squeeze these frogs back, there's some big, meaty hooks in this thing, and this is pretty small. You got a snag proof right there, right?
Snag proof.
I mean, look, those some big fat hooks. You need the braid at long range to dig those hooks. The fast reel, you're gonna hit these fish, you're gonna move them forward. You don't wanna fight them. Cinch your drag down, they're bringing them straight to the boat. I mean, have you ever intentionally tried to take your time with the frogfish?
No, absolutely not. You have to have 7-1-1 is an absolute
it's a bare minimal.
Yeah,
if I can get faster, I'd be using faster. I'll work my way there. But that's your rod and your line, guys. Well, I didn't emphasize on the rod for you. I'm using the iRod 754F. It's a heavy rod. It's designed by Fred Urbanis. We're both fishing this iRod right here.
Yeah, same rod.
Same rod. iRod absolutely makes some phenomenal rods. It's got a ton of backbone and a good soft tip to where you can still get your accuracy of pinpointing that frog, and all this big backbone shuts that fish off. You see Billy and I swinging these big fish in the boat with no hesitation. I've swung 9-pounders in the boat with this. Billy's probably swung them bigger than 9. So you need a fast, good length rod. This is a 7-foot 5-inch rod. A lot of guys are trying to go too long. You need to be able to pinpoint, you know, where that fish is at. You need to be able to get them in. You're making a lot of pitches on a lot of little roll casts. You don't want a really long rod. You want something right around that low 7-foot range to mid 7.5-foot range. I'm a taller guy. I honestly probably wouldn't have a problem with 8, but I really like the 7'5". Billy, you probably always fish that 7-foot to 7'5" range.
It's perfect, actually.
Yeah, so that's a good rod for everybody's size. So that's your rod, guys. That's your line, so hopefully that'll help you.
How you missed that thing?
Just, dude, load up. Boom. I'm a believer. Huh?
That frog just went right across the tip of my knees.
Did it? Don't worry, I can't hook nothing with this anyway.
Exactly, I'm not twisting. You got no problem with that.
All right, so we pulled off here. There's 2 islands. There's an island here and an island right here, and the river is breaking around on both sides. This is a nice big flat in the middle here. Right now, it's post-spawn time. And the nice part about these flats is these fish have been up here spawning inside of this. We should have some fry garters in here. We should have some females that are done spawning, pulling under this heavy stuff to recover, eat a bluegill, eat a frog, eat a small bird. And a frog's a great imitation for that. You can see that we got some really thin stuff out here. Our frog comes over this real easy. There's not too much for them to push out of the way. I mean, it's just an ideal bait choice for something like this. There it is. Oh.
It's little.
You playing games with that little fellow there, Billy?
Yeah, that's a dinky.
Hey, bass on a frog's a bass on a frog. A solid 8-pounder subtract 6.5, 7.5,
8.
Subtract 8. Solid 8-pounder
from 8 1/4.
There we go, though.
Hey, they're in training.
They're in training. I mean, we called it. Said they should be right here, pulled right up. Billy whips the first cast really right into the prime of the stuff. You know, we always want to start on the outside and work our way in, but as soon as Billy got into the, you know, the key stuff, got one right away.
Hang with us, guys. We'll be right back. Attention Northern California anglers, have you been to Boat Country in Escalon? With one of the largest selections of welded aluminum fishing boats from Weldcraft, Lowe, and Hughescraft, chances are they've got the right fishing boat for you. And did I mention they have a full service center to take care of all your boating, repair, and maintenance needs? If you're a boat owner or just looking to become one, you owe it to yourself to check these guys out. Visit BoatCountryUSA.com or stop on by. I'll see you there. Oh, you heard they got weapons of big fish destruction? Well, you heard right. BWA Fishing Performance is the newest company hitting the U.S. market by storm. With some of the sickest swim baits around and non-cookie cutter style lures that you could ever get your hands on. It's time to show these fish something new. Visit BWA.com. Attention all anglers, it's time to start displaying your weapons of big fish destruction in style. With the coolest rod racks to ever to hit the market, the 916 Rod Rack. Don't be caught slipping stacking your expensive gear in the corner. Treat those babies with the love that they deserve. From upright racks to ceiling mounts to wall mounts, they got you covered. So don't go wrong, guys. Get yourself a 916 Rod Rack. I'm taking these, bro. Are you into diving, surfing, or fishing? And have you checked out the Salt Life YouTube channel yet? From awesome surfing insight to scuba diving locations and in and offshore fishing, bundled up with all sorts of crazy cool footage, the Salt Life has you ocean lovers covered. So go check out their YouTube channel and tell them if sent you.
That's a good one. Keep moving here on the left side. There we go. Ah, he's all right. He's all right. 2-pounder. We'll take him. So far, the big ones haven't been participating too well, but we're still early. We're figuring the bigger fish are going to get under where we need them a little bit later in the day, but we're catching fish on the frogs, and that's all that matters to me, man. Nothing beats that topwater frog strike.
Tweety's doing his job.
And occasionally, when you're out frog fishing, you get into a mat that's a little extra thick. Oh, see that? Oh, that was that turtle one. And you gotta reach down there and you gotta punch it. I mean, smaller fish, but very girthy, healthy one.
One of the most crucial things you can do when retrieving a frog around docks or around that thicker grass is work it slower. When you're bringing it down the side of a dock next to a shade line, you need to incorporate long pauses. The frog has a lot of drawing power, just like a swim bait. If you pause it, they will come out and get it. Probably 50% of my biggest bass that I've ever caught on a frog came on the pause, and it was a substantially long one. So don't neglect to pause that frog next to a key piece of structure or cover to draw them out.
All right, guys, so now let's talk a little bit about the frogs. There's, you know, a large assortment of colors. Out in the California Delta where we were fishing at today, you know, there's some crucial colors that you might want to try, but we're going to give you some basic colors that are going to work across the whole country. If you get a white bottom frog, you know, like this here, that white bottom on that frog, very neutral color, bright sunny days, white always shows up well and you'll always get bit. It may not be the perfect color, but that white bottom frog is going to get you bit in those bright sunny days. A frog that's all black on the bottom, dark overcast days, early mornings, late evenings, big heavy shaded areas, black will oftentimes give them a better focal point for them to hone in on. So your common styles, you have, you know, your pointed nose frogs like these here. And this is the Tweety.
That's Tweety.
Right, this is the Tweety.
Yeah.
That yellow and black or red and black is really good on the Delta. We have birds that look like this. So a lot of the time when those birds are flying around low to the water, this color gets you extra bites. This is a river to sea spit and wad. You have a lot of frogs with pockets on the mouth. Okay, and guys ask me, well, why would I use this over this? And I mean, Billy knows it's to get their attention with something like this. But if you're getting bit with something like this, would you pick up something like this?
If you're getting bit with that, stay with what you're getting.
You stay with that, okay? So a real key indicator, oftentimes you can start off with this, and I tell guys too, if that water's slick calm, a pointed nose frog is really all you need. They're gonna hear it. It's making commotion, but if it's rib snorting, it's blowing, there's a lot of boat traffic, you're fishing in a loud marina, something like this where they're not too spooked off noise, oftentimes is what it takes to trigger them. A big popping frog like this, river to sea makes a really soft body frog like this. Man, these, I always forget your brand, the Snag Proof. I don't know why Snag Proof never sticks in my head, but Snag Proof makes a really, really soft frog. As you can see in the video as well today, Billy has a frog slash at this and he sets the hook with no resistance at all. This thing snags the dang bass in the side. That means that it's a really, really soft frog. So your key difference, noise to draw them up. If it's dirty, you might want to use a louder frog. If you have mixtures of mat, if you don't think they're quite hearing it, go with a louder frog. You can add rattles to these guys like this. And now let's go into the modifications for these guys, because we gave you the colors. Oh, on that clear water too, I say, you know, bright sunny days. For semi-clear water, meaning, you know, 2-foot visibility to 3-foot visibility and more, bright sunny day, use something with a wider bottom. You can go into colors like this later on once you learn more about them. You know, if you're trying to match up the birds or something like that, or if you're trying to match up swallows, get the special color. But if you're getting started, white, black, pointed nose, and a poppin' frog, those will get you going from there. So let's get into a couple of modifications for these guys. Oh, good one. Oh, better fish. There we go. Not too bad.
Another one of them.
Not one of them tournament legal fish, but still on a frog. Oh, nice. A little bit better, closer to 3 pounds there.
Yeah, you go. Let them flip off a little bit.
Nice.
Better than the rest of them. The rest of them look just like bass, only smaller.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, very similar, but just smaller in profile.
Yeah, exactly. Nice.
Yeah, baby.
Tweety getting it done again.
We're still looking for Big Mama.
She's out there.
She's coming. So if you look at Billy's legs right here on his frog, I mean, clearly a lot longer. Billy, what is your theory with the longer legs right here?
Well, the longer legs didn't give you a bigger profile. When you stop it, these legs will spread out, give you a bigger profile, a little bigger bait.
So a bigger profile, bigger bait, bigger fish, right?
Hopefully that's what we're going
Hopefully
for.
that's the theory. It doesn't always stand true.
That is the theory. I mean, I typically don't trim my legs on these frogs ever. But every once in a while I'll trim them down. Like it's not very often, but every once in a while you'll trim it down. They just want something a little less subtle, a little less, abuse.
A little less size-wise.
Right.
And you can see, I was fishing a smaller frog today. I mean, you compare to some of these. I mean, just, look, this is a much smaller profile. We had a lot of smaller fish going. They weren't overly committed today. We really had to get them to go. They were taking short strikes, so I was fishing a smaller frog. So I was actually trimming my legs off. A really good trick, if you go right up to the side of the eye of the frog and you trim them off right there, that's a good little size. Some guys will do this to where they can walk the dog better with their frog. If you're trying to walk your frog side to side, throwing slack at it, reeling, popping like you're using a walking bait, the shorter legs will help that. Another really common modification that Billy does on all of his, I mean, you straighten those out, right?
Yeah, I do it.
What were you calling that?
Oh yeah, setting it on kill.
He set his hooks on kill. That's on kill mode.
And that's all you do. You get the pliers and you just open these hooks up. Try not to bend your barbs down. And you just open them up just a little bit.
Well, let's show them a comparison. So if you look at these hooks, see how these hooks kind of lean inward instead of straight? And Billy, go ahead and pinch down on yours.
These ones are in as well.
So if you look at this, okay, versus these hooks, let me try to get you. a good focus there. You can see these hooks on the green frog are pointing more straight, and these ones are bent in. The difference is, this is gonna be a little bit more weedless. If they're eating it, great, fish it stock. You know, if you're not missing any, fish it this way, it's more weedless. This can pick up the occasional weeds, but the difference is, if a fish barely strikes this, look at that, I just barely rub and that hook is getting me. This is gonna greatly increase your hookup ratio. That's what those hooks pointed straight. You never want your hooks bent to the outside of the body. You always want some meat of the frog blocking your hooks, but pointing them straight right there, setting it on kill mode, like Billy said.
Give it a little gap, you know, just a little gap between the rubber and the tip of the hook.
Just the slightest little gap will really help. You can either shorten those legs to try to get them to focus in on it. You can straighten those hooks to increase your hookup ratio. If you also notice, like I said, I'm gonna say here in the film, when I'm fishing over a thicker mat, sometimes I'll wrap the frog with solder. Some guys add weights in their frog just to get it to sit deeper in that snotty stuff. Later in the summer, you get that real thick mat. And a lot of the time, adding a little weight to your frog and fishing it slower is gonna help you. If you shake it, that frog's gonna work its way into that mat, and then that bigger lethargic female is gonna say, oh, there she is, and take that swipe, versus a completely weightless frog might not make that line through that mat, and you might not get that fish nearly as often. Basic solder wrap on this one, hooks in kill mode, shorter legs. You can tell I was going for the gusto. Sometimes I put a red Sharpie mark right on the butt of these things to help as a focal point if I'm pausing it a long time. If they're biting it, if I pop and let it kill and let it sit, sometimes I'll add red to the butt. But if I'm walking it, I'm not adding red. I'm just gonna let them try to eat the whole dang thing.
Hang with us, guys. We'll be right back. Did you know that P-Line makes specialized lines for all your fishing needs, from the super strong abrasive resistant CXX or the low stretch super stealthy CX Premium? Or maybe you're looking for invisibility or super bite detection with P-Line's 100% fluorocarbon. No matter what your needs, P-Line's got it covered. To find out more, visit P-Line.com.
P-Line, baby.
Been thinking about trying out kayak fishing or already into it and just want some sick upgrades for your rig? It's time to check out the Headwaters Kayak Shop. Come pick the brains of their knowledgeable staff and make sure to ask about their awesome demo program to find the right kayak for you. Or stop in and rent one with Lodi Lake right down the street. The Headwaters Kayak Shop fits all your yakking needs. Tell them if sent ya. Have you been to rustylures.com? Did you know they offer free shipping on anything over $29.99? And with all the latest and greatest in bass fishing gear, from punching tackle, umbrella rigs, swim baits, and you name it, there's really no reason for you not to be getting the best deal online today. So go to www.rustylures.com. Did you ever wish for an RC boat when you were a kid? And do you have a passion for fishing? Well, guess what? It's time to do them both at the same time. With RCFishingWorld.com's RC Fishing Pole, it's time to be a kid again. So visit www.rcfishingworld.com today. Ever tried pulling a planer board next to your boat when trolling or fishing from a swift current bank? If not, you're missing out on one of the most phenomenal fish catching machines on the market today. With Yellowbird planer boards pulling your lines perpendicular to your boat, you can't help but catch more fish. Find out more by visiting www.yellowbirdproducts.com.
See, the difference what separates a weekend angler from a pro angler like Billy is we're pulling up to this dock. There's lay down timber. There's about a 50% or 75% chance you will not get the fish out. But what that does, it discourages so many guys to never even take the cast. They're scared about losing their bait, or they're just like, oh, you're not going to get the fish out of there. But I mean, if the lottery is 50%, you play every single day, right? So you got to think about it that way. The big fish, sometimes you can pop them over these docks, you get them in the boat, make the cast other guys won't, man. A lot of the time, that's what it takes. Okay. Oh.
Where? Did you have one?
There went a little guy.
Did you have one? Nick, explain to the camera what happened there, son.
That fish just blew up. He was hanging onto my line right here, just hanging on, and then he just let go. No, fish came off. It was a little one though, no biggie. Oh, I heard that. There's a little one. Here What happened there, Billy?
Yeah, that string thing again.
Yeah, they keep biting the braid. That's it.
I didn't want to make Nick feel bad, you know. He's been showing me how this is done, and that's what he's been doing all day long. So I figured I'm learning his technique, and I've got it down, I think.
You don't want to hurt him. You just want him to want him to take a bite at it.
Right, you just want to watch them blow up.
It's all about seeing the fish blow up, not necessarily landing the fish. Way more fun to see them explode. I mean, you don't want to hurt them. That's why we took the hooks off these. Got it. Broke the reel too. Busted off a reel handle in the process. Woo!
Nice. Knew there was one back here, huh?
Knew there was one back here. Last time, was here about a week ago. Had him bust, and then also caught a 4-pounder. This guy's only about 2 1/4. But still a nice fish, good tournament fish. Not too bad. Hate that frog. Only about 2 actually. A little thick. Not bad.
It's the second smallest one you caught.
Over the dock for a giant bass. So I was out here about a week ago and I found a pattern. And the interesting part about the pattern is it's a low tide deal. We're not quite there yet. The sun's not quite overhead. It's a middle of the day low tide deal. And you see these little sparse, you know, Delta cheese, the snot mats out here. Basically what's going on, we got a ton of milfoil, we got a ton of hydrilla, and as it drops, these snot mats get stuck to the top of that and they hold. It's the middle of the sunny day when it gets hot and the UV's up real high. These fish are looking for shade, and instead of coming off this flat where there's a ton of bait moving around, that's imperative too. You always want to find bait on mats. They're pulling up under these. And they were getting better and better for me last week. And Billy and I both, I just missed a fish over here. He threw right there. Wasn't a big fish, but still the pattern's starting to come together again.
2 quick things, hookups and break-offs. When you're retrieving your frog, you always want to stare at it. A lot of the time when that bass blows up on it, they're going to put a warning strike out there and try to slash it and wound it and come back and get it. If you set the hook right away and he doesn't have it, a lot of the time you're going to lose that opportunity unless you get it back there super fast. So focus on that frog. If you see that it's gone, reel down, then set the hook on them. Break-offs. A lot of the time break-offs still happen on 50-pound because your line was slack. You had slack line and you set the hook, you cracked the whip, something had to give. There's zero stretch. With 65, doesn't happen too often, but one thing you want to do when you're using a double Palomar or a Palomar knot like we always use frog fishing, when you fasten down, give that tag in a couple of extra hard jerks. You can do it with needle nose or wrap it around your finger, then leave your tag in slightly longer than you normally would. It's topwater, it doesn't matter too much, and it's going to save you some fish.
Ooh, gone.
A lot of the time when you're pulling up and looking for those mats to frog fish on, you know, you can pull up to those big, giant, solid mats, and those do work, but a lot of the time these isolated mats work, you know, even better because, you know, there's not as much area for you to fish to find those bass. But one of the most crucial things when you're looking for an area that's going to hold bass is you want to look for bait. You want to look for life, whether that's bluegill in the water, you know, some sort of bait fish, whether it's damsels flying around the surface, dragonflies, and you see bait fish physically going for those dragonflies, or you get that visual indicator like a lot of these split tails and these golden shiners are cruising around through these flats. With those visual indicators, like right now I'm looking at bluegill, so I know more than likely when the sun comes up, the tide drops out, there's gonna be bass positioned under these. The bait's here, you know, why wouldn't they be here at that point? Versus driving down a bank, you don't see any signs of life, but you see a ton of mats. Well, why wouldn't you pick the one with bait? Well, because more than likely, that's where the bass is gonna live too. That same one with the bait. So don't stop too soon. Don't get too anxious and saying, oh, that looks good. You know, if something's got some current coming around it and there's a small mat right there, definitely hit that up. Bass love to be right near the current. But always look for those signs of life. Look for fresh greenery, where it's not all dark brown and looks completely dead. You want to see some green foliage around. You want to see that life, a little bit of current, not always a mile long stretch of snot, you know, some little isolated things on points or inside pockets with that current, and you're going to be a lot more successful finding them. Just throwing out to that isolated clump out there. Digging. Oh no!
I was trying to get him to come up and jump. You know, he just wasn't cooperating, so I had to let him go.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, he
I pushed the eject button. He was a lazy fish. We didn't want him anyway.
So some cover and some structure to fishing for frogs. You know, you could pretty much throw these things anywhere, but the real key is, the common question is, guys are always asking me, when do we start fishing for bass with frogs? And plain and simple fact is, if you throw it and they bite it, keep fishing it. But, you know, a common water temperature, I like to believe 65. You agree with me there? I mean, I know you can catch them sometimes earlier.
You know, when that water temperature gets up 55 to 57.
55, 57?
I've got this snag proof frog tied on.
Yeah.
On the deck or in my box.
Yeah.
Every time I'm on the water.
Me, I'm so critical, man. I'm like, my water temperature's got to be right. I'm like a robot. This.
You know, it's just.
And Billy's the one who tells me right away, dude, frog bites on. And I'm like, well, you know, it's 64.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things. But I honestly think like the best prime frog windows, that 65 to 75 degree water temperature.
Absolutely.
That's the good prime bite time for that thing. And you know, if you see Billy in this film, he's throwing over docks. He's making the most difficult cast possible. I mean, look at this thing. Look what Billy's got here. It doesn't get any more weedless.
No, it's extremely weedless, and that's why you can do that.
It's the floating jig.
It's the floating jig.
It's the floating jig.
But the whole key is to try to get this thing where not everybody's going to be throwing it. Everybody goes down the bank and hits the same toolie. You have 7 boats following you down. They all hit the same toolie, but they're not going over the toolies. They're not going back in that hole because they're thinking, well, if I get one back, I can't get it out.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to find out.
Yeah.
If I get one back, let's find out if I get it out.
That's why Billy's throwing the 65. When I hook him on 50, I go get him. Billy's like, no, come here. Just powering him through there. But, you know, take risks, like Billy's saying. Throw over back into those, you know, with timber lay down. Horse the fish out. Hit them in the mouth. Horse them out. You get on that reel and just horse those fish out. Don't take what you think is a safe cast. A lot of the time, instinctually, we're thinking, oh, this bait's got hooked. It's got hooks. Oh, it's going to get stuck. I don't want to lose my lure. A frog needs to be placed. Yeah, you might lose it if you get it caught 20 feet in the air in a tree and it wraps around 6 times. You may lose your bait, but if it's boat level and, you know, reachable, you're probably not going to lose it. It's floating or stuck in something that you can reach. Take a lot of risk. You know, today, the pattern we really got going is leafy cover in the water. That's that primrose. Hydrilla had some. Elodia had some, milfoil had some, and the Delta Snot had some fish. But, you know, we're out here in the middle of June. They really weren't plowing through the mats to get our frogs. So if you'll see Billy and I fishing around this grass close. We come over it, and then once we hit a pocket, we stop and kind of hang there to draw that fish out. They're not overly aggressive wanting to bust through there yet. What do you think, July, August?
Yeah, the end of July, mid-August, you know, all that whole, it's just from the middle of July to the middle of August is probably your prime
that late
time.
Summer. Late summer stuff, they're more willing to bust through that mat.
That's when you're going to get that a lot. You'll be able to stay in one place, and you have a good-sized mat, and I mean, literally you can power pull down or stick your trolling motor in the snot.
Or have your buddy stand in the mud and hold the boat.
Whatever works for you, and catch literally 10 to 20 fish out of one mat.
Yeah, and that being said, when I mentioned the structure and cover, as you can see, they were in June, and we weren't getting them to plow through the cover. So what you might want to keep in mind is to fish that thinner, a little bit more sparsy stuff to try to get them at this time of year. And a lot of the time, the guys are going to say, well, that's kind of an open section right there. Why didn't you throw a walking bait? Well, the difference is that walking bait is not going to make it over the log. That's in your way. A lot of the time the frog has a wider profile. Frogs tend to get a bigger fish wanting to eat them. So you need to keep in mind that, yeah, you're gonna miss frog fish, you know, bass that are coming up for that frog a lot more often than you would with treble hooks hanging off a walking bait. But at the same time, you may have only been drawing that bass up because he wanted that frog. And Billy was telling me earlier, it's a lot like a swim bait. It's that go big or go home sort of thing. It's going to draw up a big fish. You're going to see where they're at. Even if you miss them, you can go back there a couple hours later in the day and take another shot out.
Absolutely. Sometimes just in a matter of a few minutes.
Yeah,
but
just a few minutes.
The best thing is that sparse, you know, those sparse pads that we were fishing.
Loose grass.
You know, we're coming from the opposite. We're casting over those pads.
Don't land on it.
Bringing it to the pad.
Yeah.
And you're either getting bit before it or after it. They're not coming through the pad yet.
Yeah, but later on they will.
Later on they will. But the idea is to always pass it, don't land on top of your fish and spook them off.
Yeah, overcast it by at least 5 to 10 feet minimal. If you can get more than that, do it. I mean, you don't want to have it at your toes and be casting 100 feet out there and bringing it in, but
exactly.
With braided line and a frog, you're casting far. So hopefully that structure and cover tip helps you guys out.
Oh, you got him in the foul hook. I'm like, man, that looked like a heavy one.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the time, these bass don't want to eat the frog. So what you do is when they go for your frog, Billy's so fast, he busted out for the frog, he casted back over it and hooked the fish in the side. You know, lots of states that's legal, but you have to have reflexes like a mountain cat.
That's right. Wow.
You know, I get asked on the thickness of guys mats fishing, you know, that are throwing frogs on mats, and they go, oh, my frog goes flying in the air a lot of the time. Well, a lot of the time that means the mat's too thick. A good simple rule of thumb, if you throw your frog across it, you tip down and you reel, if you could see that line going across the mat, see the trail of my frog, that means it's just about right. If you're throwing on a mat that's not leaving a trail, more than likely it's too thick for you to get that through. One of the solutions that I've done in the past is I take solder and I wrap it right around the bottom of the two hooks right there, just enough to where my frog sits a little heavier on the tail end and leaves a better trail. In that case, if they do try to suck it through the mat, it's tail weighted and hopefully it'll come through to them like that. It helps maybe a slight bit, but it's not foolproof. You still want to see those trails and what you're bringing your frog over.
Oh, you would.
That's what we're throwing a frog for, baby. I had to bail on the boat. Woo! Yeah! Yeah, baby. I had to do it, man. I only got the 50-pound braid on, and you really don't want to bounce them over a dock on the 50-pound. You want to use the 65. I had to bail. I think I pulled a rib muscle going all crazy right there. My body got so tense when I leaned on this fish. Oh, dude, look at...
Good job, baby.
I felt her get pegged down right there. I said, she ain't bouncing.
That's why we throw over the dock.
Yeah. That's why you got to throw over those docks. Absolutely awesome. Oh yeah, fish, big fish, big fish. Get her, yeah! Oh, the guy went up to me at the last minute. Freaking went up to me at the last freaking minute. Yeah! I got it, Bill. I got it. Hang on. Billy spots the primrose and puts that frog right in it and dumps her, man. Yeah! Look at that wound on her head. Wow.
Yeah, she's been beat up a little bit. Nice fish, huh?
Adios, amigo. She's off to spawn another day.
Off that primrose. I seen that. I said, oh,
yeah. Right off the primrose again, man. That's freaking amazing. Amazing. Well, guys, we had a trying day, but we managed to put it together. Why are you looking at me all weird? We managed to put it together. At the end of the day, we got a couple of really big fish at the last minute. Billy and I, we stuck it out, we ground it out. Nothing came easy today. Today wasn't the perfect frog day. We could have whacked them another way, but we made it happen. We still had a blast and we caught fish. Billy, absolute pleasure, man. If this guy starts guiding, I'm gonna let you guys know. I've been trying to talk him into it. I'm like, you gotta teach some people this stuff. This guy's a master at Berryessa. Maybe we'll do a Berryessa episode later on with him. I say maybe, but I'm really saying yes in my head. If not, we'll force him to. So either way, it's gonna be fine for you guys. Billy, absolute pleasure, man. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm gonna post Billy's link up to his Facebook. Hit this guy up. He's a heck of a knowledgeable guy. He's always willing to share. You'll see this guy at any local bass tournament you go out here. Billy's a class act guy. Much appreciated, man. InformativeFisherman.com, guys. Hit me up on Facebook. Thanks for watching.